Hockey Nation fans, welcome back to the Hockey Nation live show with your host, Coach Frenchy in the booth. And we have our co-host directly from the West Coast, California, Michael Devellano. Welcome back, Michael, this
Good
morning.
morning, Pierre. How are you?
It's a winter time in Florida. It's 62 this morning. So it's cold right now, but will be 85 in a few minutes.
That's awesome.
Yep. So we have a couple of news around the league today, and today we finished the 31 and 31 with the last team, the Vegas Golden Knight. Today preview for upcoming season 2020, 2020 and 2021. So it'll be very interesting about to see what the Vegas has for the upcoming season. I can wait to have your highlights about the Vegas.
Yeah.
And but we have to start with breaking news directly from the Quebec Major Hockey Junior League. They cancel this month of hockey for all the teams, and they are going in quarantine, but for 1 month. So they stop to play today until January 3rd, I believe. So they are coming back in January, see what happening with the league around, with the situation with COVID around a lot of, and Canada works by code colors like red, yellow, and green. So they are on the red many places around, and they can sell now for the next 4 or 5 weeks. So we'll see what happening after that phase number 2, and when they're going to restart, where many leagues going to be the same boat, honestly, around whatever is USA and Canada. So really interesting to see the CHL situation, for the upcoming season. Same thing with, Pierre LeBrun report yesterday, still discussion between the NHL and the NHLPA. You know what? If one thing you mentioned yesterday, and we talked about this, where was I agreeing you? The old players not worry about that, right? It's the youngest players. They said they have like some, discussion between both of groups, what the youngest want to play, and the oldest, they don't want to push hard on that one over there. So
They don't.
you know what I mean? That's something happening around the league but again, they have hope they would be back at the beginning of January. They expect now to maybe cut the training camp, the longevity of the camp at maybe 10 to 12 days before the season starts. What my concerns more about the holidays, you know what I mean? I don't see anybody going to be on a training camp the 23rd and then come back the 26th, 27th right away. You know what I mean? They are, already how this works. And then NHLPA, they got vacation last year about that part, everything like that. So we'll see everything about the situation with the NHLPA and the NHL for the upcoming season. If you know that. Today I want to talk about this. If I was going to ask you about, we have a Canadian division, what you're standing at the end of the 60 game.
Well, realistically, Toronto's first.
Okay.
I would think Vancouver and Winnipeg would kind of be the next two. Probably Montreal. Who am I missing? Ottawa's at last. And then you got Calgary and Edmonton, right?
Yep.
So Calgary and Edmonton. I think, okay, so I think you've probably got Toronto, Edmonton. I want to say Winnipeg, but there's some problems with that team for me. I'm trying to think if Calgary is better than Edmonton or better than Winnipeg at this point, and Vancouver. I feel like Vancouver got weaker. So I gotta say, Calgary, Winnipeg, Vancouver. Obviously, then it's Montreal, Ottawa. And I know Montreal made a bunch of changes, so maybe that's underestimating what they've done because they have brought in Josh Anderson. Assuming he's healthy, then that'll help. And they brought in Toffoli. So I suppose that'll help offensively. It'd be competitive. Aside from Ottawa, like even Ottawa will scrap it, but I think Montreal might surprise us. But that's kind of what I think. I think it'll be Toronto, Edmonton, Calgary, Winnipeg, Vancouver, and any of those could switch. That little bunch there after Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa. Am I missing anybody?
No.
Okay.
What they have, like 15 people did that in the hockey, and then the most of them they pick Toronto.
I mean, it's really hard during the regular season to believe that's not going to be the top team. They're very deep and they have lots of talent and lots of firepower. Now, what's weird is their numbers last year were junk compared to the prior years. But I think that, they've made a lot of moves. It's really hard to believe they're not going to be up there. Playoffs, who knows? But
now the second thing they would say, they are all agree for Ottawa finish last.
Yeah, that feels like they're ways away. Like there's just too many third liners playing second line minutes.
Then they have a parity between. It's funny, they put a lot Calgary high.
Well, Calgary got Markstrom and Tanev. Did they do anything on forward?
Calgary?
Let's look what they did again. Boston, there's Calgary. So if you look at Calgary, they lost Brody. They gained Markstrom. They lost Brody. They gained Tanev. They have Valimaki coming in. I mean, they didn't make a lot of moves, really. They kept their guys. The defense is, probably about the same because they lost Brody and gained Tanev, but they're way better in goal. I mean, the goaltending for them could be the difference because they're pretty deep. As long as you don't believe that, I think Gaudreau is going to bounce back absolutely. Monahan bounce back absolutely. Lindholm's real good. As long as you believe, I think Tkachuk runs a whole line. So there you got a second line with Mangiapane and Backlund. Yeah, I got to think that Calgary's up there. I think Edmonton's going to be better than Calgary, though. Edmonton's got way too much going on.
They have a parity, like on the fifth thing, some would put Edmonton, Montreal, Vancouver, Winnipeg. Like he can switch everybody from the 5 teams I just mentioned to you, the 4 teams, and it can be 3rd, 4, 5, and 6, and then you can do it again, and then it would be like
right.
Maybe not that. But I believe me on the team I mentioned to you.
Montreal might be better than we're saying.
Vancouver is the worst.
The worst
Of Winnipeg and Edmonton and Montreal.
Worse.
What?
Well, I mean, I think again we're probably overreacting to the loss of Markstrom and Tanev because they picked up Schmidt, so I think that's an upgrade. But they lost to Foley, so they really need another forward, and that could be the difference. Because I think Edmonton's super deep right now on forward and super deep on D. The problem is the goaltending, but it's not horrible, right? It's serviceable. It's tough. I don't know. Vancouver, you got Holtby, you got Demko's real good. I don't know. It's tough to say.
I'll be honest with you. I go with Toronto, Montreal, Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Vancouver, and Ottawa.
I just don't believe Montreal is going to be able to be better than Calgary or Edmonton. There's just way too many. Even though they added depth, they don't have the star power up the middle.
I will tell you why.
But the D is better.
I will tell you why. It's because the season's going to be a lot of back-to-back games and 3 games and 4 nights. And Montreal have maybe one of the best duo team tandem goaltender and that division. And the 7th team there, I believe they are the best.
Yeah, I don't believe they can't compete with the depth of Edmonton for sure. Like Edmonton's very deep right now on forward and D, and nobody has Draisaitl and McDavid except for maybe Toronto with Tavares, Marner, and Matthews, and Montreal's nothing approaching that stratosphere. Hellebuck is better than Montreal's goaltending, but they don't have a backup, so that could be a problem. But I don't think it's gonna change things.
I will tell you one reason why Edmonton won't struggle is because back-to-back games
they're not gonna struggle.
they will struggle with McDavid and Prescott because they are the only 2-1 power that team all the time.
I don't think that's true because, I mean, the more you play those guys, the better they're gonna get. Like Draisaitl particularly is like a horse. The more you play him, the better he gets. And I think that we're under. Like if you look at the moves they made, first of all, they have the best coach. They bring in Tyson Barrie. They have Kyle Turris now. They have Cocoon. They brought back Puyarvi. They have Yamamoto for a full season. Yes, they do lose Clefbaum, but what they have on D is like, Caleb Jones is ready. Evan Bouchard looks ready. Broberg looked ready. I mean, they're going to be really tough to deal with. And I don't think it's going to be like a two-man show next year. And I don't think it really was this show. Like they had depth. I mean, if you look at what team has Draisaitl, McDavid, Nugent Hopkins down the middle potentially. Like you can play Nugent Hopkins at center, which he probably is better at. And then they brought in Turris, who can, he can still produce enough at third line. They're pretty deep here. I don't love the goaltending, but it's not horrible. I mean, their goaltenders were like 917 save percentage and 902. So you don't like Mike Smith's save percentage, but he's still at 2.95 and he won 7 more games than he lost. And then Koskinen's a pretty damn good goalie. I think he's like, 2.75 and 917 save percentage. It's pretty good. I mean, I think they're hard to beat. I mean, Yamamoto looks like he's point a game now. You got Neal, you brought back Puyarvi, and then you suddenly have a third line. I don't think they really had a third line before. I mean, I know the Clefbaum thing hurts, but that should be even with Tyson Barrie probably. He's a little better defensively, but
yeah, but 5 versus 5, he struggled.
They have a lot of really good D that, like Nurse is very good. Ethan Bear's got to improve defensively a little bit, but he's good enough to chew up 18 minutes. You got Larson who can chew up big minutes. You've got Bouchard's ready. I think they're going to have a hard time keeping Bouchard off that roster. Jones is ready. Broberg looked really good. If he's not Philip Broberg, their first pick, played in the playoffs. He looked really good. He's like 6'3", can skate. He was really good. They're looking pretty smart on that pick.
Talking about,
I don't see them struggling at all though. And then they got Chris Russell on top of it. He can chew up a lot of minutes.
You still have that top 5 team in NHL because their D is not strong and they have no goalies really.
No, they have average goaltending, but why am I getting Reaver? They have average goaltending, but they have very strong D. I mean, their D is Nurse is a legit number 2 now. Bear looks like he's a number 4. And then you've got Larson, probably also a number 4. They need a number 1. But, Bouchard's good. He's a big guy that can shoot the puck.
Yeah, he's good, but he never make it yet.
He's 20. You look at what he's doing in the.
That's my point. Like,
look what he's doing.
He's not going to be a top 2 defenseman this year.
He will be. If you look at him overseas right now, he's like, he's really good. He's a point a game.
I'm not sold yet on the defenseman yet. I'm not so like.
There's definitely. I'm not sold on any of Montreal's forwards aside from Their centermen are not ready. I mean,
I'm not compared with Montreal. I'm compared with the rest of the defense.
you're ranking Montreal ahead of Edmonton.
I have Toronto is in front. Toronto have more the better defensemen to Edmonton.
That's why Toronto's first.
Calgary have great defensemen over there.
I don't know. I think they're pretty good. Yeah, I don't know if they're great. They have one great defenseman.
I think only like Winnipeg have less. I think Vancouver have better defensemen.
For sure.
Use.
But I think Vancouver lost. I think it's a question about, as long as Demko is what we think, then they're fine. They'll be competitive, and they got a great player in Peterson. That's why I think all the teams are ahead of Montreal. I just don't see Suzuki and Kotkaniemi leading things yet. And I'm not sure Anderson will come back the way we want. I hope so, because I like Anderson. But Toffoli will produce, but he's not like a dynamic, game-breaking guy usually. He's just going to be consistent. He'll score goals.
Talking about recruits, everything like that, what's going on around everywhere. We have the funny thing is, remember the pick of everybody was laughing about Columbus Blue Jackets?
Which one?
Their first pick, and I think it was the Russian kid Igor Chianakov or something like that.
Yeah, nobody knew who he was, but he sounds like he's pretty good. He was rated in the 4th or 5th round, wasn't he?
Dominate right now with the KHL.
Yeah, I know. But how many times we said this before? We're like, how many times is Columbus we're like, Ms. Lurkins? What is that? Oh wait, we let Bobrovsky go. Ms. Lurkins really good. Corpus, what?
Yeah, nobody nobody talk about him, and then finally Chinakov is Chinakov.
Yeah,
that's the name of him. Honestly,
yeah,
he was the round pick, was the number 21. He's a 19 years old. He scored 15 points so far, and 27 games for the Alms in the KHL.
Wow,
8 goals, 7 assists.
Good for him. That's awesome.
That give you an idea what maybe it could be like a steal at some point.
Like we look at that draft history of Columbus, they always find somebody, and you're like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Like Liam Foudy, people were like, why are you picking Liam Foudy so high? Liam Foudy in some games in the playoffs looked like their best player. They picked in the 2nd round in 2017 this guy from France. Do you know who that is? And they're like, France? Alex Tessier. You watch this guy, you're like, oh my God, I love this guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're really. I mean, even the Pierre-Luc Dubois was only 2016, and everyone was like, Puy Harvey. He's like, nah.
Yeah, because they were. Yeah, that draft, they wasn't expect him to be the.
Nobody saw that, but they were right.
Yeah, so right. Yeah, so right. So we're interesting about that one over there. A couple of things going happen the next couple of weeks, because some players have to figure out what they're going to do after, if they start or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The NHL and the ECHL and everything like that. So I think will be really interesting about that one over there. So I don't know. It's a couple of things about that. If we have a couple of things very quickly, we can remember Sparks. Garrett Sparks.
Where is he now?
Just signed yesterday, announced an agreement with the ECHL, the Orlando Solar Bears.
I thought he was going to be decent. I don't know. He had a lot of confidence. He played some good games for the Leafs. Mike Babcock did not like him, and he was probably right.
I would just be nice to you. I would just be nice here, because I had the in very well about him.
Yeah, what's the dope? Because he seemed like a weird dude.
So the in, I would just say to you, he was not a nice guy.
No, he wasn't. He was like.
That's only thing I can tell you, and I don't want to use the word, but he was not a nice guy from what I heard.
Well, do you remember when he got demoted just before the playoffs?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he's just a very selfish guy, and he's like very caustic. And I think Babcock's like, see ya. And they brought up, did they bring up Hutchison? I think. Is that who they brought up? Yeah.
Possible.
Like, bye bye. See you later. Go across the street to the Marlies. And then he got traded to Vegas, right? But he thought he was going to be the number one.
I know. Very interesting about him, honestly.
The weird guy, I guess. But he's a goalie. Sometimes you.
Couple of news around the league. The Minnesota Wild players continue to arrive in town, and they have to be in quarantining for 14 days. So we are back now. Victor Rask, we have Nico Sturm, and Nick Bonino, and Brad Hunt are returning with the Minnesota, and they are going to skate with the team, but they have to wait for the 14 days before they get back over there. The Columbus Blue Jackets reopened their facilities, and they are ready to go back on the ice after a few players got testing with positive. I think a couple of days ago. I think it was at the end of the week, if I can remember. Could be right. We talked about this last week, but I'm not sure exactly the same. We know Vegas and Columbus have a couple of players with positive last week, so we'll see what happened over there. Finally, the Detroit Red Wings, the coach Jeff Blashill, excited about the upcoming season. Think the team have more depth like they never have before with Bobby Ryan, Vatsislav Nemeniskov, and they are concerned about Evgeny Chevnikov. He's not longer waiver exempt.
Who?
Chevnikov.
Yeah, they gotta play him. Like, why are you signing Sam Gagner? Why are you signing these guys?
He's not guaranteed a spot. He will be competing with others.
He can play, man. You can play him on any line. You can play him on the top line if you want.
On the good news, the Philip Sandina do very well on the Czech league.
He's so good, Pierre.
I will believe me. I don't compare him like Shemnikov for Carolina.
No,
but I think he has that kind. He can. I believe honestly, he has the tools, Michael, to score 25 goals to 30 goals in the next 2 years.
Not even like right away. Like he had.
Yeah, exactly. It just depends what Detroit is going to use him and all that. But yes,
I agree. That's the problem. But if they play him, the guy had 8 goals in 26 games.
Yeah,
that's 24 goals.
Yeah. No, you're right about that.
If you watch him, like you go, holy crap! He's as fast as Larkin.
I agree with you about that.
Things with his hands that Larkin doesn't, and he finds space. Larkin's like this, right? And he goes, boom, and he comes back, and all of a sudden there's all this room, and he goes to his little dot, boom, and on the power play, on that dot, he's like lethal.
And finally, on the defensive side, the coach is a little bit concerned about the health of Danny DeGesser after his injury, about his surgery, I think it was the back, if I can remember, right?
Yeah.
And finally, he's excited about the additioning players like Mark Starr, John Merrill. I think John Merrill is underrated in the NHL. Absolutely. I could be wrong, but I really believe I like that guy. Who was talking? We talked about who yesterday was missing of Winnipeg, like a defense 5 or 6, something like that. You know what I mean? Or he's maybe not Vancouver, Winnipeg. But I think Merrill is a type that players can be that kind of defenseman.
Absolutely. And he's inexpensive. So last year they signed Patrick Nemeth, and he was like $3 million. And they moved on from Eriksson finally, and they got rid of Bowie in the offseason, all these experiments. Nemeth was like their second best D all year. And you realize, oh no, this guy's an NHL defenseman. He can skate. He's 6'3". He's a prototypical Yzerman D. He's big and he can skate. And Merrill's the same. Merrill's 6'3". He can skate. He's not going to get you offense, but he's definitely not going to give up any defense. And you like him. It's a good pick. Good pickup for $700,000. Like,
I agree with you. Plus, they got also Troy
Stetcher.
Stretcher.
I think that's underrated. We're going to find out, but
Yeah,
we watched him in the playoffs. I think you had the similar reactions, like, who is that guy? And he looks like a Torrey Krug type D. Now, I don't know if he's going to be able to get the numbers, but he's small, he's stout, and he can skate, and he moves the puck really well.
definitely.
So we'll see.
We just did around the league. It's time now to Michael Devellano quiz. We are back today for another couple of questions about NHL flashback. And Michael is always on the hot seat for quiz. So let's start today. See what Michael's going to get there. We're not, but we know already the first one's going to be easy for you. Honestly, I'm sure you get this one, but easy one. 1996, he became the first history player to reach 3,000 points in regular season and the playoff.
Gretzky.
And now I will ask you which team.
Rangers?
You got it. You got it. Now we go back in 1970. The score is 1,000 point in NHL with the Chicago Blackhawks.
1,000th point in 1970, Bobby Hull.
You nailed it. Question number 3.
Born then.
Question number 3. He scored his 900 career point in 1995 with the Calgary Flames.
Jerome McGinley?
No,
1985. That wouldn't have been right. Who would have had 900 career points by that point for Calgary? Maybe Nieuwendyk? No, that would have been early too.
All right, I will give you the second answer on that one. All right, he came from the Buffalo Sabres.
To Calgary?
Yep.
Who would have come from Buffalo? Ooh.
I know, tough one. That's why I give you that one because
It's a weird one. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who moved? So what year was it? 1990? 95, and he came from Buffalo. I mean, it's not Mike Pekka. Who would have come in 95 to Buffalo? 900 points. God, I don't know who that. I mean, I don't know.
You're late.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Phil Osley.
Oh, that's right. That terrible trade.
I know. It's a tough one, that one. It wasn't an easy
Yeah, I
one.
totally forgot he played in Calgary.
Let's move on to 1988. This player for the Los Angeles Kings earns 8 points in one game. Who is he?
Bernie Nichols?
Got it. You nailed this one. I was on that one over there.
I forgot about Housley.
I know. Let me move on to the next one here. I'm coming down here. All right, and on the date today in 2009, this coach reached his 500 win in his career. 2009.
2009, 500 wins.
Yeah, not many people win 500, so I don't want to give you the name of the team yet.
Still active?
Yes, that's a good question.
So it's like 11 years ago. Holy crap. They would have had to been, I mean, I want to say like, I might be wrong though, Alain Vigneault, but he probably would have been later than that. I think that would have been later. I mean, Joel Quenneville maybe, but that's still late. He's already, he coached in St. Louis, right?
He was with Chicago.
But he was with St. Louis before that. So he got all those. That's why. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was like one there, what, you know what I mean? Like, it was a good one over there.
How many wins does he have to date? He must have another 400 or 500.
You know what? You may be right. Maybe right. I don't have it in front of me right now, but you're absolutely right. And the last one, this rookie players with Arizona Coyotes score back-to-back goal and shortened and 58 seconds apart in the second period. Who is he?
Last year?
2014.
Oh, 14. A rookie.
Yep.
Who would have been a rookie in 14?
He still play.
Yeah.
Maybe with them, but he's still in the NHL. He could be still with them, but he's in the NHL.
2014. That's such a weird time for them. And he scored back-to-back shorthanded goals?
Yep. And 58 seconds.
Jeez. I'm trying to think of
It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
6 years ago, he'd probably be at least 28. Jeez, I don't know. That's a weird one. I mean, Clayton Keller's too young. I don't know.
Too late. Thomas Reeder.
Oh, Toby Reeder.
Yep.
Wow, he's never scored a goal since.
Maybe
He had 1 goal in Edmonton or 0 goals, remember? He had like 50 games and no goals.
Exactly. That's the one over there. He's doing that. Just the last one will be more easier. He became the first player in the history of the Minnesota Wild play 1,000 game in 2019, get his 700 assists in the first period on the goal by Kevin Fiala, who is E.
Koivu?
We need to finish on the positive note today, so we give you that easy question over there. But very good one today. Again, you get 4 good, two, but the two one was very hard, and the first one was about who was again the first one you missed?
Well, Housley, I totally forgot he was in Calgary.
Yeah, Phil Housley was not easy one. Honestly, when the question is about the 900 point, but we're always thinking about the Calgary Flame players, right? You talk about players.
That's what was going through my head. I'm like,
yeah, long time over there. So,
but see, he didn't go directly from Buffalo to. That's probably the other thing. He was in Winnipeg, right? Because he got traded for Dale Hawerchuk.
Yes,
that's what I was like, and he got traded for a bucket of pucks, like. He got traded for Cale Hughes, Jocelyn Lemieux, the other Lemieux, and Tommy Abilene. I guess Tommy Abilene was a pretty good D, but none of them. He became the leading scorer, I think, in Calgary that 1 year, right?
Yeah, he played 3 seasons at Winnipeg. Then he won 2 years. He went to New Jersey, Washington, and come back to Calgary.
He was. That's right. He did come back. Look at that.
And he finished with which team?
Toronto, didn't he? It was like very brief. It was like a game.
1 game with Toronto.
Yeah, that's what, because he got hurt, didn't he? Like right away.
Yeah, because he was straight in the middle of the season from Chicago again for that part of it. It's amazing when you think about Phil Housley. I was thinking only one team, Buffalo.
Yeah, well, he had great years in Buffalo. But you're right, he played a lot. I remember the Winnipeg days because he got traded for Dale Hawerchuk.
But he had a lot of good year with Winnipeg. He got like 86.97 points.
Oh, for sure.
He never been the same players over there. It's funny. He gone sometime with one team. Look, he went to St. Louis for 26 games. Then he went to New Jersey for 22 games. And then he finished with Toronto for 1 game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he played those 3 teams for not a full season.
So imagine this. Winnipeg had Teemu Selanne score 76 goals that 1 year. He had 97 points and was a -14.
Yeah, he was a little bit like an Eric Carlson 1.0.
You had 97 points. How can you be on the ice for 111 again? And then they were only 3 games above 500. 40 wins, 37 losses. You're like, what?
That's remind me a little bit what Ovechkin the year before Barry Trotz show up at Washington. I think he finished with 48 goals. He had minus 47.
That was brutal. But the goalie is why, because he had Bob Essenza, and we know that when Bob Essenza, he got traded to Detroit, and that lasted very, 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 very little. It was like, whoa, this guy's bad.
I know. You're absolutely right about that one over there. So, but it's time now to go with the last team on the 31 days and 31 different team, and we have to finish with Vegas Golden Knight. We apologize. We should put Vegas at some point between the L or with the V, but we decided to go all the way to the end with them. And honestly, if you have money, they are looking for some money for the salary cap space.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they got a very rich expansion draft, and they've just capitalized on it over and over. So I think that expansion draft continues to pay dividends. We saw some interesting things just on the front office last year, which is you saw George McPhee step back and give Kelly McCrimmon the GM role. And Kelly McCrimmon's a veteran from the WHL, like really sharp hockey mind. And I think he gets along very well with George McPhee, and they work very well together. They also made an odd move, which I was a little surprised at, which is they removed Gerard Gallant, who's had nothing but success with this team, and they bring in Pete DeBoer after he gets let go by San Jose. So shout out to Pete and Steve Spott, like good for them. They grab a great team, they upgrade over probably San Jose. The other odd move that surprised everyone was when they traded and brought in Robin Lehner, and then Lehner took over the number one. So I think they have a very good pulse for what's actually going on in their lineup, and they're not afraid to move on it. We've also seen them be very aggressive about moving out picks that they had stockpiled. But, what's funny is they still have a lot of high-end talent that they can draw on. So we see Paul Stastny move out back to Winnipeg. We see them move out Nate Schmidt to bring in the whale, which is Alex Pietrangelo. I will never for the life of me understand what St. Louis was thinking. They should have given Pietrangelo all the money that he asked for, because what he got in Vegas was pretty reasonable as far as I'm concerned. To your point, they're right up against the salary cap. The reality is they have a lot of money. I mean, they are the fifth richest team in the NHL after only being in it for like 5 years. And they still have really high-end prospects. They still have Cody Glass, who, if he's healthy, is going to play second-line center for them next year. The kid is like, we saw him in the rookie camp in Anaheim here last year, and it was like, whoa, this guy is – we've always known he's good because we played against him in the WHL, but this guy is better than anybody on the ice. He's he's a little bit soft, but he's so talented. Like, he's just got elite level everything. Peyton Krebs. They draft Peyton Krebs, who falls in the draft because he had Achilles surgery. If you know Peyton Krebs, he ain't going to be held back. This guy's he's a prototypical Vegas Golden Knight in that he can score, set up players, but he's got that grit that defies his size. Because he's not a big guy. Like, if you see him, he's pretty lean and he's not that tall. It doesn't matter. He's got like that extra thing that goes on. So he fits in very well. And then they have Nicholas Hague, whose name I probably spelled incorrectly here, but let's see. Does that look right? Oh, not that.
Yes, you're good.
That looks better. And, people don't realize. So their first ever draft, which we'll look at, we know that they drafted Cody Glass, Brandstrom, Suzuki, and then the second round, Nick Hague. And I was very surprised that Nick Hague fell to the second round, but I think we just knew he's a 6'7" defenseman that can contribute offensively. He's more of an outlet pass setup guy than he is a big shot. He probably could work on his shot, but I mean, to get a defenseman like that, it's very hard to find, right? Like you could project him easily being not just a top 4, but maybe a top 2. So I think he just needed time, and he looks very good. So suddenly, in spite of all the veterans, they bring in Mark Stone and all these guys. This remains a very deep team. Now, do I believe in this team? There's something that's missing in my brain about the team, but I just feel like they don't have the star power down the middle. William Karlsson has far exceeded any of our expectations. We know he had the one really big year, but he's probably fallen back to earth to kind of being the 20, 22 goal scorer that he is. But we know he's very good on faceoffs. He can kill penalties. He's a great two-way player. So maybe he's like a little underrated. We know Riley Smith has got big numbers last year again. And he's kind of like a year on, year off type guy, but he's very fast and he can score goals. So he got 27 goals last year, probably would have got 30. He's probably going to settle down to 2024 again because we see he kind of goes a little bit up and down. Marchessault, wouldn't you love to have him in Florida still? I mean, the guy scores 30 goals in Florida, and they let him go in the expansion draft.
You remember he was with Tampa?
Yeah, and Columbus, wasn't he?
So with Tampa, imagine if he was still with Tampa.
No, it's like he's one of those guys. Like he was in Columbus, he was in Tampa, he was in Florida, and I think people just didn't appreciate it.
I don't want to compare him because is a Hall of Fame, but he has a little bit the same story like Martin St. Louis.
I think that's a really good comparison because he's a smaller guy, highly talented. He's if you look at 30 goals, 27 goals, 25 goals, 22 goals. So he's he didn't get to the NHL until he's 25, 26.
Can you put bigger your screen?
Let's try.
If you don't mind. Yep. A little bit better. Yep. That's good.
So you're right. He doesn't make the NHL until he's 25, 26. He bounces around a bunch, just like Martin St. Louis was discarded by Calgary. And then all of a sudden he's he's a top offensive player. Now, St. Louis, to your point, was late, but then he became, the leading scorer in the NHL. St. Louis was like a tank. So he's a little built differently, but man, a good comparison, I think. Max Pacioretty, we know all he does is just score goals around the net. The guy scored 30 some odd goals last year, get 33, I think. So they've got offense. Cody Glass is the most talented of any of these guys. Now, the problem with Cody Glass might be maturity, but it's not going to hamper him. He's just on the ice. He's super smart. He's calculating. He's got good reach. He can shoot the puck. He can make passes to tape. So you got to think if they play him with any wingers, whether it's Marchessault, Max Pacioretty, Stone, he's going to get points. We saw him in the AHL. He got hurt, but before that, he's just really, really good. He's too good to be in the AHL. Mark Stone, we know, is not the most beautiful skater, but he's probably a top 15 player in the NHL. Now, he's getting up there, but he produces points. He's very consistent. He's great in the power play. He's a big body, definitely a leader on this team. Then you go down to the third line. You got Alex Tuck. They signed Chandler Stevenson, so I suspect this is a player we don't understand and appreciate yet. Nick Waugh was a steal from Carolina, in my opinion, just the way Julian Gauthier was a steal from Carolina. You have these two big power players that just needed time, and we watch him, and man, he looks really good. The way, when he played for Team Canada, I'm like, holy crow, how are people not paying attention to this guy? So as much as we used to discriminate against small players, I think we're discriminating against really big players because he's 6'4", 6'5", but he has good skill level and speed, and he can shoot the puck, and he can set up guys, and he can kill penalties. So he's the worst case can be a third-line player for this team. Thomas Nosek's not going to get you points. Will Carrier's tough and two-way player. We know Ryan Reeves is scary. So, they've got guys on the right roles and the right chairs. And then they've still got Peyton Krebs in the wings. And I think you're going to have a hard time keeping Peyton Krebs off of this roster. So that might be a bonus. On D, this is the story. You know that Shea Theodores emerges as a number one, and then you stack Alex Pietrangelo on top of that. And you re-sign, you brought in Alec Martinez. We didn't realize how good he was. He gets into Vegas. You can go, whoa, he's a legit number 3-4. Braden McNabb is up there. White Cloud, this guy looks like, where did he come from?
That was the surprise of the of the playoff. We know what Theodore did. He was maybe one of the MVP, but at the end of the day, if you think about those six players there, I think he's the one with White Cloud went from nowhere.
He came from nowhere. We saw him again in Anaheim.
Yeah.
and in the rookie tournament, and I was like, "Ooh, this guy's pretty good." And then you saw him play in the HL, you're like, he's pretty good there too. And then he came to the NHL, you're like, oh, he's still pretty good. So I think he's got some upside. We're gonna find out. Can he produce offensively? But he's definitely a really good defenseman. And then the Robin Leonard Fleury is like, maybe it's too expensive, but they can afford it, so they're not crying too much. They probably have the best tandem in the league. Maybe I like who's got a better tandem right now.
No, here's the point I will say to you. They are over by almost $900,000 over. So they have to cut one defenseman on the assist. I think.
Well, Dahlstrom is.
I think Olden will be the one here because what the problem because Olden is 1.7 million versus this 800 from Dahlstrom. That will be the one over there. Otherwise, they cannot cut anybody. They have 12 forward and they have only 21 on the roster versus 23. Now,
the logical move would be to move Fleury, but he's refusing to move, and they think they'll just keep him for a year. Does Dahlstrom not get them over? I guess they're still over without him.
Who?
Dahlstrom. Carl Dahlstrom is 850.
Yeah, that's the only one they can keep because right now, without him,
Right. Maybe you might be right because they could probably get that for 700,000-800,000. Like the same player, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but you could see where they kind of pay some of these guys a little too much. Maybe like Carrier at 1.4, Stevenson at 2.75, Holden at 1.7. Like Holden is good. Don't get me wrong. He's a top 6. He's a big guy and he can shoot the puck a little bit, but he's not young. I could see where they probably move out Holden. I get Holden confused with McNabb a lot, but because they're very similar, right? But McNabb is a lot better.
But again, Olden is okay. I have a 1.7, Michael. When you have your salary cap is not like too. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, I agree.
But because I think 1.7 for him is pretty good, and McNabb at 2.5, that's pretty good. Yes, Theodore at 4.5, and Prejelo. The only thing I would say to you, like, move out Fleury.
I know, but he won't move.
No, but if you move out Fleury, right, that gives them a chance to pick up another forward
for sure
center where at $3 million pick up those. I believe if Glass stay healthy, they have no problem. But I think it would be good to get another 3 great center. I don't have nobody in my mind right now, but a good solid one over there, like Lars Eller, example. That's what I'm talking about.
That might be, maybe.
No, I'm not saying. No, I'm talking about. I'm not comparing. Yeah. But Eller play a lot of roles in Washington, what nobody do over there because they are offensive player in front of him, and he's really want to play second line, but he's more like a third line in NHL. Yeah, he's the type of player I'm talking about. You know what I mean?
I agree. I mean, they need a Stasny without the salary.
Yeah, you know what? I'll be surprised. He's expensive over there, but a third line like this, I think a Tyler Bozak over there can fit there.
Yeah, they'd have to. The money is a problem, obviously.
I know. So I'm just mentioning name right there that's in front of my mind. But I think that kind of player you're looking 33, 31, 32 can make about 30 points, 40 points. Sit down at the 31. You need something at the end. You can pick it up. This guy, everything like that. You know what I mean? So, but again, I think the only right there is the salary with Fleury at the goalie. Otherwise, you know what I mean? Like they don't need 6 defensemen; they need 4.
It's $7 million for a backup.
You know what I mean? They don't need defensemen. The Perangelo do defense 1 and 2.
Oh my God, he's like going to play 27 minutes a game or something.
Yeah, so you don't.
Yeah. Oh, you're cutting
out. Now they have only 12 forward and they have 21 roster. I would like you to come back now, not on the rookies, but on the no roster forward. They have 16 players there as a forward. Which one do you believe? Do you think they could be close or they could make the NHL? Or they be a part of their roster?
Oh, yeah, I did spell it right. Okay, never mind. Let's fix this. This guy is going to be in the NHL. right? Like I don't see why Nicholas Hag right now is 791 and he's better than Holden. So I think that's an obvious one where you move out Holden, like you said, and you bring in Nick Hag. Peyton Krebs, to me, you're going to have a very, very hard time keeping him off your roster. I don't see it happening. I think he's going to play in the NHL. Maybe they take their time with him, but he's going to make it very difficult. He's recovered from the Achilles injury. He's way too good for the WHL, and he's going to be too good for the AHL if the AHL happens. That guy could be your surprise, where he comes in, he can come in and play third line, but you're not going to want him on the third line. Like he's super talented. So if Cody Glass falters at all, you got Peyton Krebs that is right at the similar level. He doesn't have this, he's not as dynamic, but he's smart and he's like always on the puck, always where it's going to be, getting it to where it has to go, and he'll score you goals. So that kid's going to be hard. I don't know if it's this year or next year, but man, I think it's now probably because they're not going to send him back to the WHL. And they're not going to want him. He's going to play maybe in the AHL if there's an AHL season, but not for long. He's going to be just too good for that. I think Jake Leschyshyn is probably the only guy that I think he's going to have to carve out a bottom six career for himself if he's going to play. And that might be to their advantage because he's not the goal scorer they thought, and he doesn't have the speed, but he's a thick kid and he can play a little bit rough. And he's cheap, obviously. So those might be two guys, but I think definitely it's going to be impossible to keep Hag in the AHL again. This goalie, by the way, is not bad.
Which one?
Yuri Patera.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're interesting, aren't they?
I think what we mentioned earlier, you know what I mean? They are like, you have to find a space right now. That's the only thing they have to work. The good thing about that also, they still have 7th-round pick next year, 2 on second round, 1 from the New Jersey Devils and 1 from their own the second round, and they have their 1st-round pick over there. And if you think about the draft pick, I don't know if you are there right now. I'm on my page myself. I don't see.
I'm on the draft pick.
I'm sorry about that. I did not see your page, but I think the first time they hit the nails, like one thing they did well, they pick up a lot of the round pick number 1 because they will maybe tell to one team, you keep that players, we don't want to take him, but we get your 1st-round pick. So they did well when you think about that. Unfortunately, 2 of them don't play with them, and I think they do very well. Nick Suzuki with Montreal now, and Eric Brandstrom is with Ottawa, if I can recall it. So, but again, their first 4 pick was amazing. You know what I mean? Because that's pretty amazing. If you can go now for the 218, they don't have no 1st-round pick. Morozov is in a KHL right now. He's not like, but again, we'll be surprised if he does something there. I do not see anybody else right now on the draft 218, what is very great. But I expect a lot from Peyton Krebs. I could be wrong. Maybe talk about him.
That's what I'm saying. Peyton Krebs, you're going to have a hard time keeping him off the roster. Because Peyton Krebs, like I showed this here, so you can see Peyton Krebs, 60 points in 38 games. He's too good to go back to the AHL or to the WHL. He might start in the AHL if there's an AHL season, but I mean, if that's why I say if Cody Glass falters, Peyton Krebs will be the guy to step in because he's very close to that level. He's maybe not as dynamic as Cody, but he's more mature and he's tougher mentally.
You're absolutely right. I think you have something you can put apart, and then maybe Stevenson at 2.5. I think you're 1.7 or 2.5. He's at 2.5. So you know what I mean. They can pick it up there. A guy like them, or you can drop down like Holden and keep a 13 forward there with Krebs around there. That's a really good statement here about that.
That's why I was saying before, like Peyton Krebs, maybe Leschyshyn, and definitely Hag. Like those are guys that are going to take more expensive roster spots, and they'll be okay.
Yep, that's a good one over there. I think they are, but at the end of the day, I mentioned this yesterday, and I'm sure you agree. They are maybe definitely the top five best NHL team for the upcoming season. Maybe three, and maybe they have a chance to win the Stanley Cup. When you have Predangelo in your team,
That's
that increase your chance to win. And we have to give a. I did not like the fact what they did to Gerald Gallant to put him out
yeah,
to bring Peter the board. But
yeah,
you have to give credit to the board because he's a great hockey
he
coach.
is.
You have to give him credit. I mean, you have a big rivalry between San Jose and Vegas the
Yep.
year prior and everything like that. And the board came back there, and then people was thinking, why did you do that? Why not to keep getting after not a difficult beginning season? There was +4 on the +4 win on the 500. So Ghana was not bad at all. It's just like they want to chin, and then McCrimmon won maybe his own man, and that's what they did. That he's not. McCrimmon is recognized as a manager. He's not scared to make trade. He's not scared to make change, and that's his reputation. I could be wrong, but I'm sure you
Oh
know.
my God, yeah, he's super aggressive. So
Yeah, so I think that's a good thing about that one over there. So that finalized our 31-31. I just want to mention before we shut down here, you did an amazing job, Michael, to bring team. Honestly, the credit go to you because honestly, I'm just like I just talking to you about what you did and everything. So great
oh,
job about that one over there. Like we mentioned earlier this morning, we're going to shift to now another 31-31, but now it's going to be about the team number 32, the Seattle, is it Kraken again? Yeah, Kraken.
release
And, and now we're going to see team by team who is going to be protect. The rules, if I can be wrong, but it's a 10 players rules. Like you can mix like 6-4 or 7-3 and
right.
put one goalie.
No, it's 4-4.
So again?
It's 4-4. So if you protect 4 defensemen, you can only protect 4 forwards. If you protect 7 forwards, you can only protect 3D. That's why it's so rich.
It's a minimum at 3D.
That's what I'm saying. You can have 7 forwards and 3D, or you can have 4 forwards and 4D.
Yeah, exactly. But still have one goalie to protect.
One goalie.
And then you have the rules about no protection. Like some players the rookies can be out, like no waiver, whatever they call it. Like they protect.
Is it entry level contract that's excluded?
Yeah, the entry level contract, and I think you can play 1 year in NHL. I could have to check this rule. I can bring to you guys tomorrow about that one over there, for the protection for the rookies season or something like that. Would be very interesting. We're going to start tomorrow with Anaheim.
So we're going to look at the players that they can expose, right?
Yes. So you have to said we need to decide who's going to be protected.
Okay, we'll have to go through that list.
So the list, and then we go there like goalie example, like John Gibson over there would be protect example, right? So you have to go all the way like that. So you have team is going to struggle. Some team will be easy. In some team they don't have no worry because they're rookies, and I think it's 1 year you don't have or you have an entry level contract. Also, like on your 3 season, I think you have no problem to get there. Does that make sense?
Yep. Hey, Pierre, jump, unfortunately.
Yep. So thanks again, everybody, for another great program today. We look forward to see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Have a great Tuesday, everybody.
Thank you, Pierre. Thank you, everybody.